Hello, my most amazing artists. Today we're going to do a lesson on color and value. Now by this point you should know the basic color wheel and Roy G. Biv, the colors of the rainbow. Red, Roy R-E-O-Y-G-B-V. Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, violet, Roy G. Biv. You also may know that the three primary colors are red, yellow, and blue, and when you mix them together, red and yellow get orange, blue and yellow get green, and blue and red get violet. You may also know the warm and cool colors. Red, orange, and yellow are warm colors. Blue, violet, and green are cool colors. Or even complementary colors, colors across from each other on the color wheel, like red and green, blue and orange, or violet and yellow. But today we're going to add to that value. And value is the lightness or darkness of a color, along with lines, shapes, textures, and space and form. Color and value are two of the other elements of art. Now today we're going to do an artwork that will demonstrate value and color. So I'm going to show you in two ways. We're going to make two ice cream cones. And one ice cream cone we're going to make out of markers, and you're going to pick, if you have markers, you're going to pick one color of marker and black. If you're doing crayons, then you'll have a dark color crayon like black, and then you can pick a couple different colors. So for this one, you can also get brown for your cone with your markers. So with the markers I have brown, red, and black, and with the crayons I'll have black. I'll do let's see, what kind of ice cream would I want here? We'll do one that's let's see, I like chocolate, but I don't want to do brown because that's a little, so I already have brown. Well, I'll get brown for the cone, and then we'll get red. We'll do red on both sides so that you can kind of see. So I'll do one of my scoops red, I'll do one of my scoops green, and I'll do one of my scoops, let's see, we'll do one blue. So we'll do red, green, and blue on this side. You can pick some other colors, but the basics are going to be the same. So when you have value and you have something like crayons or pencils or colored pencils, it's how hard you press gives you the value. So we're going to do a simple ice cream cone. So toward the bottom, we're just going to do a cake cone. So we're going to do a square with a rectangle on top. Right there is our cake cone. And then we're going to do 3 scoops of ice cream. So we're going to make like a cloud that sits on top. Then we're going to come up with the bump. We're going to make another cloud that sits on top of that one. Up with the bump. And then a third cloud that sits on top of that one. Up with the bump. And if you have room, you can make a cherry on top. Okay, so there's my 3 scooped ice cream. Now I can also, I'm going to make one on the other side. Now if you have just markers, you'll make 2 marker ones. If you have just crayons, you'll make 2 crayon ones. If you have crayons and markers, you can make both. Oh, I kind of messed up. I'll just make that into a square now. So I got my bottom of my cone. I'm going to make my first scoop, second scoop, 1/3 scoop. And there's a famous artist actually called Wayne Thibodeau who used to do all these types of things with sweets, with paintings and drawings of sweets. So there's my thing. So on this side, if you're using crayons, what you want to do to make value is the harder you press, the darker your lines are going to be. I'm going to go ahead and just make some lines here, and this one we're just going to make one value. Value is the lightness or darkness of a color. So you start off with a light value. So I'm going to color this on top really light, not very hard. You can see, you can barely see the brown, especially on the video. And then where there's shadows, I'm going to color just a little bit darker. So I'm going to say there's shadows under here, so I'm going to press just a little bit harder under here. I'm going to put a shadow on the side here, so I'm going to press just a little bit darker. I'm going to put a shadow on the bottom, so I press just a little bit darker. And I kind of vary the pressure that I'm pressing down. So I'm not pressing down, I'm pressing down, start light, and then I press down just a little bit harder. I'm going to put a little bit of shadow on the side and on the top right here. So you can see now it goes darker to lighter over this way. It's very, very subtle on this, but you can kind of tell the value. So for each of these ones, you're going to start off coloring it light, and I'm just going to do one. You're going to do each one of these the same way, but you're going to use a different color. Start off coloring it really light, and then what you're going to do is you're going to go around the edge and put that shadow around the edge. You're going to press a little bit darker, and you're going to try to make it blend together by just changing the pressure. And do the same thing. If you have a really dark area, like this part might be really dark because it's got a shadow, you can go press a little bit harder. So here I'm going to pick one side, and that's the side I'm going to put the shadow on. So I press a little bit harder, and I kind of lighten my pressure as I go across. And I can go back and put a really dark edge right there. And I'm going to do that with each one here. So I would do the same thing with my red right here and with my green right here. And you can go ahead and color in this whole one, but if you want, you can put a dark edge on it, right like that. If I'm using markers, it's a little bit different, because no matter how hard I press, the marker is going to look the same. So if I colored this whole thing in, it would look one way, but when I do something like this, where I do these lines, it looks like your eye kind of blends it together, so it looks a little lighter than if I just colored the whole thing in. But I can put a little bit of a shadow on a side and the bottom like that. So when I'm doing these, there's a couple different ways. Like I said, you can use lines. So I'll show you. I'll go ahead and I'll just color in this top one. So if you're using these, one way you can do it is with lines. So I can make some lines coming across like this. And then maybe make a couple just go a little bit farther across. And then I can add in shorter lines that make it closer together. And then on the very edge, I kind of color it in. So that kind of makes it look like the light's hitting over here, and this is the side. Or I can do it with dots. So I start off by making a lot of dots spread out like that. and then on the side where the shadow is, I kind of make those dots closer together. Closer together. And that kind of makes that value. You can see that this side over here is darker than this other side over here. I can make my bottom a little bit darker there. And you can kind of just color in a little bit on the side. And then you can also do this with the zigzags like this. So I could go like this, and then like this, and then where I want it darker, I just add more zigzags. Right like that. Okay, and I'm going to make some of these just come all the way over. So you can see now your eye kind of blends it together and it makes it go light to dark. So usually the shadow is on one side and the bottom. Okay, so just like over here, one side and the bottom. So what you guys are going to do is, if you only have crayons, you're going to do 2 ice cream cones with crayons. If you only have markers, you're going to do 2 ice cream cones only with markers. And if you have both, you can do what I did and do one with crayons and one with markers. Remember, if you're using crayons, if you have colored pencils, you can use those too. Colored pencils are similar to the crayons in that you start with the lightest value and then you add a little bit more value where the shadows are. You press a little bit harder and kind of blend it out. Kind of lift up a little bit, relieve the pressure, don't press quite as hard, and it kind of blends together with the light part. Okay, so I'll go ahead and do this red one while I'm getting done here, and make sure if you finish that you take a picture and you upload it to Schoology, and I will see you guys next time.